evening, everyone. We'd like to welcome you to the second season of our Gentle Warrior series. And it is an honor and a huge privilege to have Anjali Uthup Kurian as our very first guest in the second season. There is a lot one can say about her. She is definitely she is a multi-talented person. She is a radio jockey. She is the founder of Sunny Kidney Foundation and also the co-founder of Kidney Warrior Foundation. But today we are here to talk to her about her experience, about her journey as a caregiver. This is something Anjali and I connect on a very personal level, given that we were both patients of kidney, we were both caregivers of kidney patients. So, Anjali, we are really looking forward to hearing from you. If you can start off by giving us a brief introduction about yourself.
First of all, it's just absolutely wonderful being here today, and happy World Kidney Day to everybody. I say happy because there's hope. And I connect with Sudeshna on other levels as well. I think we're both girls from Bengal. So there's an edge the minute you think of that, because you think of the Bengal tigress. And I always believe in that. So yes, it's really fabulous to be here. I'm a radio jockey by profession, and I've been one for 27 years. I'm a compere and an MC. I have been a founding member of a couple of kidney NGOs, starting with, of course, with Kidney Warrior Foundation and the Kidney Patient Support Foundation, then, of course, the Mumbai Kidney Foundation. And along the line, I just started doing something which was called the Sunny Kidney Foundation. Over and above that, I work with Radio Mango in Cochin now for the past 15 years. And that has, of course, been my solace and my cornerstone whenever I'm going through anything. The minute I press that record button, I do not have any problems that face me or I have to face ever again. I also have started a little YouTube channel, which is called India Diary by Anjali Uthup. And it basically explores the soul and genius of India in Indians anywhere. And that, of course, if I get sponsors for it and people who would like to advertise on that, that money goes to help patients world over.
Great. Thank you so much for the wonderful intro, Anjali. Whatever we say falls short, given your talents and your graciousness. Anjali, can you start off by giving us your experience during the times when you fell into the role of a caregiver? What were some of the things? Did you even have the realization that you're becoming a caregiver? And what were some of the things, the thoughts that you were going through at that point of time?
So I don't want to sound as somebody who's got a gender bias, but I think the minute you're born into this world as a woman, you automatically are a caregiver. From the time I was small to the time I am nearly 50 years old, my journey has been, attending to people who've been in need, maybe physically, maybe mentally, maybe medically, or maybe even socially. Of course, my role as a caregiver probably would have started when I was 23 years old and helping with my grandmother, my grandmother-in-law, my mother-in-law. And I just thought it was a duty that one did. And I felt, because I am empathetic and sympathetic by nature, somebody's pain is always my own. But I think I got defined as a caregiver because it became a primary caregiver when Sunny was diagnosed with CKD or end-stage renal disease way back in 2015. And the reason I had to step in is because my brother was not married. And suddenly my parents were just, their entire beautiful life that was just like a beautiful roller coaster actually, with the good funs of having ups and downs, suddenly came to a standstill. And there was no other way but for me to come in the front and just become the caregiver. And at which time I didn't even realize I was a caregiver. I was just making sure that my family was not falling apart with this crazy tragedy that we didn't even know anything about. So actually, I never had a choice or a chance to choose whether I would or not become a caregiver, And I'm sure you identify with that as well, Sudeshna.
Caregiver is not a role that any of us see coming towards us. We just suddenly get stumped with it at some point of time in our lives. And it's a good idea to start thinking about it ahead of time, that we are somewhat prepared, I think. That is something I feel for the next generation of caregivers. What were some of your challenges or frustrations that you went through as a caregiver, especially for that of a kidney patient?
So if I have to start, I'll have to start at the very beginning. So the frustration first, of course, was being not well informed. And Google and WhatsApp really doesn't solve your problems because you get millions and millions of pages and you don't know what to do with it. So that frustration was there. The second frustration is if you're anyone like anywhere in your mind like me, I'm the kind of person who believes that I am typically like Ma Durga and I've got 10 hands. And sometimes I also think I'm Ravana because I've got 10 heads as well. So I'm used to doing this juggling game and I can multitask and I can have a earphone in my ear and I can be making chingri mach and bhat. And at the same time, I'll be thinking about my Radio Mango show. But for somebody like that who never had to ask for help, for the first time in my life, I had to ask for help. And the help came by sitting with other caregivers outside dialysis units. The help came from asking, co-patients, caregivers, friends, relatives, doctors, nurses to tell me what was happening. And I think the first frustration for me was to actually put my hands up and say, hey, I need help because I really don't know what's happening. And then I would get little bits and pieces from the caregivers or the bystanders that were there outside dialysis rooms, or patients who've already gone through transplant from their family members, or from the nurses or the coordinators or the doctors. And that's how it all came about for me. And I remember I would get little notes and I would be told, hey, go and work on this and give us answers tomorrow. So that kind of pushed me to understand the whole process. So that would be probably my first frustration, was to ask for help. Secondly, I think that, you must have your cognitive processes in your mind very, very clinically laid down, because otherwise you end up sounding like a stuck record to people outside the purview of disease. Okay, so what ends up happening is you keep saying that, this is this and this is this, there's a PX and there's a DX and there's a TX and there's a this. People don't understand your language and people don't understand. And they're like, oh God, she's only talking about all of this. So I started sounding like a stuck record. But I think the more I repeated these stories, the more I became sure of what I was saying. And the more you become sure of what you're saying, you start realizing that you're, getting some power over a problem that you thought was just not curable, solvable, things like that.
One of the things you mentioned about reaching out for help, how were you able to engage those around you to help you and also to help them understand you? In the sense, when we are reaching, we are usually talking to people who don't have any idea of the disease we are dealing with the challenges we are dealing with as a caregiver. So how did you bridge that gap?
So actually, when you're sitting outside a dialysis room on a dialysis bench, the kind of person I am, I can't keep quiet. I'll get a headache if I don't talk. So the conversations would start like, how are you today? What are you doing? I would start helping people get a cup of tea, coffee. There were aunties over there whose nails I would polish and I would run around doing their stuff. So one day I would just happen to say, God, Sunny and I've had such a big fight today because he insists that my bed is full of mites, or rather my bed is full of some kind of insect because he's getting bitten. So somebody said, no, it's not because of that. It could be because of his phosphorus being high. So I said, phosphorus being high, their pH must be high, which causes the itching. And then I said, oh, and there's another lady there saying, my God, I brought in my husband today because he's itched himself to a bleed. And that's when the conversation started. So every day when we would go in, I would start asking them something. Like one day was about the itching, one day was about leaching, one day was about sleeping, one day was about flank pain, one day was about output, one day about dry weight, one day was wet weight. So every day something new came up. And because I can talk and I've been given the gift of the gab and I can talk to a total stranger, I think I picked a topic every day to discuss so that somewhere I would make it, the joke would always be on me, first of all, because I didn't speak Malayalam that well. Like they still don't, but I can communicate it. And I would just go and say, oh, what is this? I didn't understand it. What is this TX and BX and things? So they'd all look at me and say, what a fool you are. You don't know what BX is. It's biopsy. You don't know what TX is. It's transplant. And I would say, oh, I thought it was some form for a, like some dinosaur or something. So the joke was always on me. I always pushed myself as a person who did not know, who was not well informed. And in that way, I actually started realizing I was learning so much. If you go to a place and behave like Sarvagyani Bhuteshu, that you know it all, you're only going to push people away from you. So I was very lucky, with the people around me who constantly gave me advice. And I think they liked the fact that, I didn't play dumb, I was dumb. So they really felt that they were doing me a favor by enhancing my knowledge about things that I was totally clueless about.
You had a very unique way of reaching out to others and solicit, I mean, and then eventually getting help or engaging them to help you, because, as a caregiver, you're so overwhelmed with your own problems and burdens, and you always have that guilt feeling. Oh, why should I bother the other person? Or why, they may not understand me. Why go through all that? So it's amazing. That's definitely one thing I would learn from you as to how to connect with people and, uh, you know, get them on your side. Uh, what are some of the medical knowledge you had to catch up on when it came to, again, being a caregiver for a kidney patient? What are some of the basics you had to immediately catch up on and manage at home? Because there is, a lot of information out there, like you said, but how did you manage to sort through and decide, select as to what is most critical to your patient or your brother?
So honestly speaking, I can't be more thankful and more grateful that we were at Lakeshore Hospital, because the entire transplant team, that was from the surgeon right up to the nephrology department, to my friend Dr. Johnny Kannampalli, who was, of course, the diabetic side of it. And he was also a friend of mine who helped me with my weight loss journey. I was surrounded by people who were from the medical field, who had time, and who would not just spoon feed me. They would give me little tips and they would say, go figure this out, figure that out. And then because they've given me the tips and the notes that I would make, I'm the kind of person I will find it, even if I find a newspaper or a napkin, I'm constantly doodling or writing. Even when I'm talking to somebody, if somebody is talking to me, I always make notes, because I never know what is going to help me. Not that I want to, because you suddenly hear a word or you hear a nuance or you hear about something. So all the medical jargon that I had to learn actually I was so blessed. I was really blessed and in a place of knowledge, because I was surrounded by people either from patients or caregivers, or, as I said before, transplant, coordinators, the dialysis nurses, the technicians, the doctors, everybody. I was totally aware. But the one thing that I did realize is that I was lucky to be able, to be in that situation, be the kind of person saying, yes, I don't know. But the one thing I also did learn as a caregiver, and I'd like to say it today to every single caregiver, you do not have to mind your P's and Q's. You do not need to cross your T's and dot your I's. And you do not need to walk on thin ice when you are with a doctor. With all due respect to every doctor that I've ever met in my life, thank you for everything that you all have done for us. But there's a one thing that you must know, all you caregivers and patients, that other than treating you medically and with medicine and putting you onto a table, it is also part of their duty when they take their oath to totally inform you about what you are going to go through. So maybe you will not be as lucky as me, and maybe you will not be as vociferous and volatile as my dear friend Sudeshna is, who will go and ask, because she was in a situation where she did not know. She did not have the kind of infrastructure that I had, probably. So you use the grit and determination and the right that Sudeshna had, put it together with a little bit of business, probably with a smiling face, or even with an angry face. But remember, you have every right to knowledge about your patient from a doctor and his team or her team. So never fail to ask. If you do not know, if they say, oh, this can't be happening, why can't it happen? No, because I saw it on the x-ray. Ask them to show you the x-ray and explain. When my brother's one donor was said that he could not be a donor, and I said, why is that? And the doctor said to me, because he's got two arteries. All right. And I went back to some other doctors, looked at that whole thing, understood what it was, why the two arteries, where were the two arteries? There were two arteries in the kidney. Okay, so that's what I needed to learn. So when the next the next donor happened for Sunny, and he was just rejected for God knows what reason, I said, how can you even reject him? His GFR is great. That's his glomerular filtration rate. His cardio is great. He has no problems in his liver. He's got no cysts in other parts of the kidney, and he has a single artery. So on what level are you saying you can't? So remember, you have to be informed, not on your own. It's the doctor has to inform you, and never feel that you need to take a shouting from anybody. It is your right. The minute that doctor has decided that you are their patient, it is the right of the doctor and your right to know what is happening. So never forget that.
Anjali, I cannot thank
Yes.
you enough for just saying what you did, because that right to information of a patient is so critical, and we are still at an age where we feel, especially those who are not as informed or as knowledgeable about the disease they are dealing with, we often get intimidated in the presence of a doctor. So being able to open up and respectfully challenge the doctor or ask the questions is still looked down upon. And that is a barrier we need to break, where doctors and caregivers are actually on the same team. This is something the caregivers also have to come
Yeah.
realize, and also the doctors. So thank you for highlighting that.
Also, I think, no, also I need to say is that we have come from a position where, and there is nothing wrong in feeling that way. And I want to tell you that really a doctor is closest to a mother or probably God. All right, but the difference is your mother or your doctor is not God. God works through them for you. So when you're praying, your mother comes and helps you with a cup of coffee, or the doctor comes and helps you with the medicine. It's God's way of reaching to you. They are sent by God. They're angels of God. They're angels of mercy. They're very God-like, but they're not God. And if you're like me, I do not fear God. God is my best friend. I talk to God every morning. So why the hell did he do this to me today? So remember, you can talk to them as well like that.
Oh, I enjoy those personal conversations with God, especially the really feisty one.
Yes,
Been through many of those days. What on earth do you think you're doing right now?
exactly.
So, getting back to the next question, Anjali, if you could help us understand some of the reasons for which you chose to relocate your patient from West Bengal to Kerala. Was it personal? Was it logistical? Was it medical? We'd like to know that totally from a caregiver's point of view. What were some of the pros and cons of that decision?
Actually, the reason that Kerala was chosen was not by me. My brother decided that he needed to be next to Anjali. And the logistics were easier for my mom, brother, and Sunny to, my father to reallocate to Cochin, not really reallocate because they do have a home here as well, than me going to Calcutta and having my entire family come there, especially since my daughter was in the 10th. She got into 10th and Sunny got diagnosed with end-stage renal disease. So Sunny just wanted to be next to me. We're a year and 3 months apart. We fight like cats and dogs, but we're best friends other than being brother and sister. So it was his choice that he wanted to come to Cochin.
However, it did help you significantly from a caregiver's point of view, because then you were able to not have to ship your family or keep shuttling back and forth between West Bengal and Kerala in order to be a full-time caregiver for your brother.
But honestly speaking, being a caregiver and having Sunny in Cochin itself, my two positions in my life, from being a caregiver and then just being Anjali, which came with all the other things, did feel that I was not in two different states. I felt like I was in two different continents, because you are obsessed and you're just overawed, and that's all you're thinking about morning, noon, and night is your role as a caregiver. I've had my children actually come to the hospital and sit outside and do their homework there. I did have my husband, John, who took care of everything at home. So I really didn't need to worry about it. I had friends who pitched in and said, okay, we're taking your daughter today, we're taking your son today, and stuff like that. But even though we were in the same state or even literally lived in the same house, I lived in that hospital for close to 6 months in the same room as Sunny. But it was still, there was a big, I think the one thing that I did feel is that initially I thought being a caregiver, I should not be having fun and I shouldn't be smiling and I should not be even wanting to go out. And then finally, when that Anjali of total fun and madness and everything got merged with this Anjali, which was totally medical, totally focused only on getting her brother okay, when they all merged, I realized that they were one and the same. They were just different aspects of my being that had not been tapped.
Caregiving is, I don't need to preach to the choir here. Caregiving being such a consuming, it's an all-consuming responsibility. And like you mentioned, even though you had your brother right with you, you were still having to juggle. So how, if you can help us understand a little more as to how did you compartmentalize your various roles and how did you multitask, or, making sure that you're able to focus on your work, your home, your family, along with the all-consuming role of a caregiver.
So the one thing is that I've realized is I'm not good with compartments. I'm not good with boxes. When you're overawed and you're consumed by a disease like this, even that little time to go and open a box to look in was really difficult. So I just literally didn't have a choice. There was no plan, but it worked out really well. I just went with the flow. Luckily for me, at that time in 2015, 2016, Radio Mango was there. So I had to go back to work Thursdays and Fridays. And the minute I walked into the office and I put on my mic and said, "Good evening, namaste, namaskar, namaskaram, adab, sat sri akal, welcome to the Kochi twist that I do just like this." I really did it just like this. And there was something totally else that happened in my whole being. All right. Then I would go, that was just a little kind of a, what can I say? Just a small audience. I don't even know who I'm talking to, but there could be 2,000 people, 40,000 people in one. And in the middle of all this, I was also doing the ISL comparing on in the stadiums. And there was 70,000 people there. And the minute I say, "Good evening, Kochi," and I would hear this, oh, that was it. I didn't think, but I did realize that I did multitask, and I'm good at multitasking. And most women are good at multitasking. I'm not saying it against men, but I'm just generally saying, being a woman, this comes with it. Like you come with the uterus, you come with the edge of having multitask skills. All right. So I just felt that, okay, so in the morning I would get up, do everything for Sunny. Then if I had to go to work, I'd go to work. Then I had to come back home. It was, honestly speaking, I just thought it was just another part of my life. I never really compartmentalized it because there was no compartments. I mean, Sunny, Amma and Appa and Aisha, Ria, John, and my extended family of, my in-laws, all of them, and my friends, they could not be compartmentalized because they're all very intertwined. It's like a set of, you take like these tuni bulbs that we say in Kolkata, those little fairy lights, and then you leave them and then you don't know where to take it out from and where to start and where to end. So I never really compartmentalized, honestly.
Very well explained. Very well explained. What were some of the things that you did for yourself as a part of your respite care to give you some relief,
Okay.
or some break from the stress of being a caregiver?
So honestly speaking, the initial 20 days that Sunny was sick, I didn't even move out of the hospital other than 3 times. My house is 16 kilometers away, but I hadn't come home. So this was just Sunny's pre-transplant. Then we went into the phases of him going for dialysis, which were 3 times a week. And within the first 10 days, of course, I had everybody eating out of my hands because I just loved everybody and everybody loves me because I love. That's it. So from coffee to nail polishes, promising older aunties and uncles that they need to go to a cruise, they need to meet their favorite film star, understanding phosphorus and understanding urea and bun and God knows what else. I did realize that once Sunny was out of the hospital and Sunny was home, we had a lot of friends dropping in because Sunny is Mr. Popular. The whole world knows him. So we had people traveling from cross country and cross, continents coming to see Sunny. So pre-dialysis days were always party days. But that was also great fun. But once Sunny was in hospital during his surgery, post-transplant, and he was still in hospital, I realized he's in a safe space. And my parents had booked another room also. So the first thing I did is, of course, because my mother and I, the one thing that she loves to do is to dry her hair, blow dry her hair herself. But she says a good hair day makes you feel good. And then I discovered that there was the Le Méridien Hotel, which was like 3 kilometers away from the hospital. So I would walk to the hotel and I would get a hair wash. I would have a cup of coffee in the lobby and then take an auto and come back home. So I started doing simple things like that. I started going out to buy, I had to redo my parents' home. So I'd go to buy these things. So small pleasures like probably getting a hair wash done or this family is crazy. So I would call people over to the hospital to have coffee because the coffee is fabulous at Lakeshore. So just go up to another part of the hospital and sit down and have a cup of coffee or get in some food, small things. Hair wash, washing my hair and getting a manicure, pedicure was actually one thing that I really made time to do because it made me feel good and it made me feel, and of course, kajal. I made sure I put kajal every day.
Anjali, one of the grim realities of being a caregiver is spending so many hours in the hospital lounges. And for somebody like you to make the best out of it, bringing friends over for coffee and just, chilling, that's really a good way to, make the most out of the hospital lounge durations.
Oh, yeah. I have to tell you, the kind of family is my cousin Ranika Gugi, actually, she was having a wisdom teeth removed and it was a surgery under general anesthesia many, many years ago in Lakeshore Hospital. And I remember we all collected to see her, but not only to see her because she was in surgery for 3-4 hours, but we actually got together at the hospital because they have great curry mean fry. That is a kind of a fish called spot. Okay, that you get here. So my entire family landed up to have lunch while somebody's getting operated. So this family is crazy. So I think all that really helped. And I just felt that it was a great space. I mean, what can we do? We were blessed with phones. We were blessed with music. We were blessed with books. I mean, you couldn't have asked for a better way to, find time for yourself, do things that you never did. You spend so much time with yourself that you suddenly get shocked, like, hello, are you the same person I thought I was? That kind of thing. So yeah, I just made sure that I'm that kind of person. I can see eternity in a grain of sand. You could put me anywhere and I will thrive. You put me in a hospital, you put me in a hotel. But now my children say that, Amma, the minute you hear the word kidney, liver, dialysis, hospitals, you look like a totally different person. And you say, go to the mall and do some shopping and you're not that excited, which is a fact, actually. There's a difference in the way I walk when I walk into a hospital.
Caring for people has become your passion, not only your passion, but your purpose, from what it sounds like. So,
Yes, really.
great to hear that. Can you help us understand how was your transition from being a caregiver to not being a caregiver? Now that, after your brother was treated and all his medical issues were resolved for the time being, you had to remove yourself from the role of a caregiver. So how did the transition go? And what were some of the challenges, ups and downs you faced during that transition?
So the first time that I had to suddenly feel that I was not a caregiver was when Sunny's transplant went off fine and he finally moved to Calcutta after 9 or 10 months. And then suddenly I was just left literally to the date of World Kidney Day, and that we're doing it. I was just sitting over there and thinking to myself, oh my God, Sunny is gone. What am I going to do? I'm not going to open the door 7 times a day like this, tick, 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 tick. Sunny, how are you feeling? This is your morning medicine. This is your And because I'm OCD on one level, it kind of really helped because I could, do the same thing 9 times a day to take care of all his medication. There was an ugly monster inside me because being a caregiver exposed me and made me somebody that people didn't think I could ever be. I had to learn about finance. I had to learn about insurance. I had to learn about medical. I had to learn about so many things and all other subjects that I failed in at school and somehow managed and got 80% in the 10th. So I reached spaces where I had, people didn't think I would go. And suddenly people started looking at me very differently. And I'm like, what am I going to do now? Sunny is not here. I mean, Sunny was fine for about a year and then he started having problems and then he came back. But in the meanwhile, when Sunny was not with me and Sunny did not have problems, and even now he's managing his disease and probably having a dialysis as we speak, I decided I am never going to stop being a caregiver. And I don't need to be a caregiver only to my brother. I can be a caregiver to anybody who needs care. And I realized that the minute you share your problems with people, and your joys, there is a thing, when you share grief, it's halved, and when you share joy, it's doubled. But I feel when you're in a medical situation and you share your issues, you find ease in the disease. So I decided that I am not going to be a person who is going to ever stop being a caregiver because I want to make sure that there are people who can be eased from the diseased and within the disease. So yeah, and that's something I learned at my yoga class with my friend Bree. And she's the one who says, when you stretch into yourself and you breathe, you find ease in the disease. So I think that really helped me.
So what would your advice be for those who are current caregivers and those who are erstwhile caregivers? What would you say to them after during their caregiving journey and after their caregiving journey?
Can you just repeat that? I kind of lost connection for a bit. Can you just tell me?
What I was saying is, what kind of advice would you have for those who are caregivers right now, and also those who have been caregivers in the past? Two different groups of people.
Okay. So honestly speaking, you have to decide while you are in the caregiving role, you have no respite and you don't even have a choice. But I do believe that asking for help, reaching out to people will make you feel better. All right. Now, once you have passed on from being a caregiver, because either the people you've cared for have got better and moved on, or they have passed on, I want you to understand you do not have to end up being like me. You do not have to be a caregiver to the world, because, probably caregiving didn't become part of your astitva. I don't know how to explain it better, but astitva, right? Now, there are a lot of people who, while they're a caregiver, especially when there is no joy at the end of this horrible tunnel of disease, want to totally alienate themselves from it, because every time you go back to it, it brings back myriads of emotions and it challenges your mind, body, and soul the same way that the disease actually did. And I don't think it's worth you being there. I don't think it's worth you facing your traumas over and over again if you want to just run away from it and just have a life that has got nothing to do with this. And I think that's so, so important, because I have a friend of mine who became a friend of mine because her brother was diagnosed with kidney disease and he passed away. And after he passed away, I did talk to, and I'm not mentioning her name because she wants to be anonymous, but she actually said, Anjali, give me some time to stay away from this disease because I need to cope with it. So after your time of being a caregiver, you do not have to come back and try to do anything. You don't need to be so cool and you could talk about how you were there holding your patient's hand while they breathed their last, or they were going to take the leap of faith and get that transplant and walk into the sunset. No, be kind to yourself, because you did not have the opportunity to be kind to yourself when you became a caregiver. So if you want to just take everything and throw it into the dustbin and just start a new life, just do it. Because I don't need you to need a caregiver, okay? So I need you to know that you can be absolutely bereft of this responsibility, go into the sunset and do things that you couldn't do for the many years that you were a caregiver. Be kind to yourself. That is the most important thing. And really, I'm saying if you carry on to be a caregiver, you can be a caregiver with a lot of fun. You don't have to be serious. A lot of people say, oh my God, your son has got a disease, man, but your daughter is always looking happy and partying and running around the countryside. Yeah, because if I cried and somebody gave me the guarantee that Sunny would get okay, I would have cried a river and ocean and God flooded the universe with it, with my tears. But that was not happening. So the other thing was to be happy, or rather have fun, because a good environment facilitates healing better than a sad one. So yeah, that's basically what I would say to
Being
people.
kind to yourself, that's such an important message, especially when we just had the International Women's Day. So again, it's important for not just for women, but also for caregivers. And caregivers, definitely the bulk of the load of caregiving falls on women most of the times.
But also, so one more thing I'd like to add is, if you've been a caregiver, okay, like you have been, I have been. Now, I am capable of looking after anybody, get extremely emotionally involved, sensitive to anybody's pain and things like that. The one thing I need to tell you, and I have learned, I've changed in 7 years. Whenever I used to see other people having sick people in their family and somebody was not stepping up, my first reaction would be, oh my God, how come they can't do that for their own family? No, you don't need to. You don't need to. Not everybody is made the same. And this is one thing I need. Just because you can do it, that doesn't mean everybody can. Because there are a lot of things that one person who you think can't do one thing can do, and you can't do any of the other things that you can. And since Women's Day was just a few days ago, one more thing that I've changed in, hey girl, you want to get Botox? You want to dye your hair? You want to get a tummy tuck? You want to go and find Robert Redford anywhere? Or you want to go and be with, I don't know who, Julia Roberts? Just do it. I'm no one to judge you. And I will not judge you, because you're not judging me for my gray hair. You are not judging me for my broken tooth. You are not judging me that I want to walk for 1.5 hours a day. You're not judging me that I fast on a Thursday. I have no right to judge you. And I'm sorry if I've judged you in the past, whether you're a woman or a man or a caregiver. If something you do gives you utmost happiness, increases your biofeedback when you look at yourself in the mirror, go and do it. And if you need a friend who will say, I'm holding your back, I'm always there. So yes, please don't judge other caregivers also. And it's not necessary that everybody has to be menial as a caregiver. You could be a caregiver by even supporting a family financially. You could be a caregiver by not interfering only. You could actually be the most valuable caregiver by not interfering in the whole situation. So be really kind to yourself, and more importantly, be kind to other people. Don't judge people.
Yeah,
and I don't anymore. I used to.
Every caregiver is different. And like you said, it's also important to remove these biases around the caregivers, because that adds to their
Yes,
guilt and to their burden along with your caregiving responsibilities.
that's right.
What are some of the, I mean, whether or not you have used any creative expressions for your giving process? And if so, what were them?
So luckily for me, my job is creative, being part of a radio station and a radio jockey, and doing a Saturday night drive show, which was the only English show. Of course, not needing as much, input like a person doing an everyday show. But Radio Mango was my creative, I think I was my creative best. And I think I was able to connect. I became a different person also, because my presenting skills changed, because you start becoming more empathetic to people. You become more sympathetic. A hospital is a place where you end up finding people from different walks of life, different occupations, different professions, different everything. So I think Radio Mango just kept me totally grounded. That was my job, and it just kept me grounded. The ISL was there for a few years. Then Radio Mango Dubai happened. So that was a Thursday night show, which came with its own thrill because it was on an app and not just on a radio. And then I had people listening to me from, I can't tell you, Sydney and Sweden and the UK. I had Thursdays for my friend Sarita in Texas was an open house, because it was around, I don't know, I think 12:31 in the afternoon when my show started. I had people from all over the world. Actually, I know about 221 people who messaged me on the app and on my Facebook and Instagram pages saying that we're listening to you. So that was great. I love cooking. So cooking helped me. My exercise helped me, because I feel there's a creative thing vibe to that also. And yeah, so I think that's the creative expression. But the one creative expression that I believe that really helped me is the time I spent alone. I learned a lot about myself. And I think that was a very creative process, not as in a like a drawing or a piece of art, but it was a creative process in the way I recreated myself. So yeah, I'm honestly speaking, when I say today, I really am lucky. God has been extremely kind for laying things out for me, from people to family, to jobs, to hospitals, to doctors, to co-caregivers, to co-patients. Oh my God. I can't be more thankful.
Gratitude, another thing that greatly helps you through the journey as a caregiver. There is a lot to be thankful for.
Yeah.
Even despite the challenges, definitely there is a lot to be thankful for. How would you if what would how did you connect with Caregiver Saathi as an organization? What was it about Caregiver Saathi organization that connected with you?
See, ever since I became a caregiver, I realized one thing is that the patient is taken care of. The doctors, the nurses, the technicians, the medicines take care of the patient on one level. And there are a lot of things that you keep doing here, there, and everywhere, right? So you have a patient doing this, you have a patient doing that, you have, millions of other scenarios that are happening. So all that is really great. I started noticing that I was being a caregiver to people as well, talking to caregivers, making them happy, making them understand. And I always, I can say for 7 years now, I have been working on finding out what a caregiver needs because nobody really notices this. And one of my friends at the Lakeshore Hospital, Lena, her husband had a transplant. And over time, she started getting terrible nerve pains. And, she's the most gorgeous looking 60-year-old I'd ever met. And the kind of clothes she'd wear and her blue eyeshadow or her eyeliner was just stunning. But over time, I started feeling that she was drooping and she was having neurological issues and things like that. And there was nobody to take care of that because how can you fall sick when you're a caregiver? So when I started working and, I've been talking about mental health of caregivers for a long time, mental and physical health of the caregiver and how important it is. So in the kidney foundation or in the kidney community, the minute you hold somebody's hand, oh my God, you've got a fistula. You can feel the buzz of it or you can see a catheter mark. I want you to know, all you caregivers out there, that you can trust, the only people you can trust in this world are caregivers and people from this community, because we will be sanitizing our hands and we will be wearing our masks when we're around you. We will be taking care of everything. We know about immunosuppression and everything. So once in a while, you want to call up a caregiver and say, hey, come and take my place while I go out, do it, because those people will not need to be taught. They will know exactly what to do. So I've been talking about this. And then I started working with Dr. Umesh Khanna, and he was looking after a friend of mine as well, Sejal. And I've done a lot of work with Mumbai Kidney Foundation, and I got introduced to his beautiful daughter, Smriti. And Smriti is the one who actually kind of introduced me to caregiver Saathi. And I just loved it because I really feel that a caregiver also needs not a caregiver, but a Saathi, needs a friend, needs a companion, needs somebody to understand and not judge and just say, go. We are here. And that is why I told Vimla also the one line is, and I think it should be the tagline, honestly, of Caregiver Saathi, and that is, join us because we will ease the disease. And it truly does.
Amazing. Very insightful. Very insightful. Thank you. Would you please take a few moments to share about your Sunny Kidney Foundation?
Okay. So Sunny Kidney Foundation comes from a space where all foundations come in from. Okay. And that is, of course, to reach out to people, help people, give them information, like how Kidney Warriors does. They're constantly having informative classes, online shows, having virtual conferences, enhancing and empowering patients, and of course, the caregivers. Sunny Kidney Foundation, of course, also does the same thing, but not on that level. Because I do more 1:1, because I did meet a man many, many years ago when I was on one of my first trips to Bombay, I think somewhere in 2016 when Sunny was in hospital. I'd gone to Bangalore and Bombay, and this guy actually came up to me and he said, oh, all you people, you all will have all these shows in 7-star hotels. And he did not know that my mother was a singer. And he said, oh, Usha Uthup will come and sing. Amir Khan will say he's an organ donor. Usha Uthup will say he's an organ donor. There's a huge table. There are 7 forks, 7 knives, 7 plates, 7 desserts, 7 everything. It's a 7-course meal. And everybody talks about it. It's in the papers forever. You'll have spent crores and crores on this project. And everybody goes away and it's forgotten. And I just looked at him and I'm like, yes. So he said, you all spend so much money on giving people those badges and ugly awards and things like that. And, spend so much of money doing this, but you've not changed anybody's life forever. So Sunny Kidney Foundation tries to fit in where no other foundation fits in, and that is to change somebody's life forever. So during my birthday last year, I had made a wish on Facebook and Instagram saying, to mark 49 years of my life, I would like to give 49 dialysis. I didn't know how to do it. God was great, but we ended up getting close to 243 dialysis free.
Wow.
Now, did I take those dialysis and give it to 243 people? Yes, wow is right. 243 people? No, I didn't. I took those dialysis and I divided it amongst 10 people. So everybody would get about 24 to 26 dialysis free. If I get erythropoietin injections, which are for free, and I get 10 of them, I won't give it to 10 people. I'll give it to one person. I personally, look, I don't like to say it, but I need to say it. Sometimes I think you need to let people know out there what you're doing, because maybe somewhere down the line, the perception of those people will change. But I actually look after 6 to 7 patients. So one aspect of their life is taken care of, and they don't have to worry about it, whether it's their dialysis, whether it's their child's education, whether it's the school, whether it's the rehabilitation, whether it is helping their auto guy regain all the money that he lost when he was mugged. Yes, those are the things that I do. I do whatever I earn from Radio Mango, other than the 4,000 rupees that I keep for myself. The rest of the money, I very proudly say, other than 1,000 rupees for my pedicure and manicure, goes to 5 to 6 patients. And the other money that I earn whenever I do any kind of thing actually goes to help people who are in a situation where they're buying 3 dabbas of food per day to eat when actually they need 5. And yes, so Sunny Kidney Foundation actually fills in the gap and is chosen to make sure that the sun shines every day in your life. So even if you go to bed in a dark way, you'll get up to Sunny, the Sunny Kidney Foundation, that will change your life forever. I don't do numbers, but I make sure that the person I'm with will never have to worry about a number ever again in their lives. So that's Sunny Kidney Foundation for you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Anjali, for not only pouring your heart out here. It's been such a heartwarming conversation with you. And I was going through my father's diagnosis around the year 2015 and 16, and throughout the conversation, I kept thinking, where was Anjali in the dialysis lounge? If only I had met someone like you, hopefully we would have probably had more fun or not felt as grim about the situation as we did at that point of time.
But Sudeshna, even if you look back at your time then, the kind of person you were then, and the kind of person, even now, when I look back, there were days that I was very dark and gloomy. But I think this one thing about caregiving makes you realize that every day is a miracle, because even though Sunny is going through dialysis, by God's grace, his dialysis has gone off well. By God's grace, there's no complication. By God's grace, there is affordability. That, however bad it is. I mean, I hate the fact that my brother has to suffer every day. I mean, somebody in your family having end-stage renal disease, and he's not even 50 years old. He got it when he was 42, 43. It's a very hard space to be in, But I just feel that over the years, yes, I mean, I also wish that I was with you at that time, because I'm sure we would have had a lot of puchka breaks and probably gone on the Ghoda Gadi ride outside Victoria Memorial or something, just to have cha, সকালবেলা গিয়ে একটা চা ভাড়ে খেয়ে চলে আসো, back to basics. It would be wonderful. Yeah, so that's why I want to be part of care. I'm so proud to be part of Caregiver, Saathi. Sunny Kidney Foundation also does the same thing. You just need to call me. I will come and I will sit with you. You go get your hair blow dried, or you want to go play a round of golf, go do it, because I will take care of whatever you need to take care of.
And that is exactly the concept of Caregiver, Saathi, being there for each other as caregivers. Providing support, lifting them up, because they also need the support, not just the patients. They need it more sometimes.
And what I like about Caregiver, Saathi, is not about anything else, but because there are times, and for people who are watching this, I would like you to know, there are times that the 7 of us have got onto a Zoom, and we've actually just talked like we could not talk to people we've grown up with, our best friends from school, the friends that you make later on in your life. And of course, there are some wonderful human beings who'll understand you no matter what, but from your old set of friends or acquaintances. But on Caregiver, Saathi, we were just 7 women just talking. And I think there was one guy who tuned in. We spoke about books. We spoke about our craziness. We spoke about our problems. We spoke about our deepest fears. And I want you to know that Caregiver, Saathi, is here today. I'm so proud to be part of it. Of course, honored to be a guest as well. But yeah, I want you to know Caregiver, Saathi is a space where you just come on and say, listen, I need to have a conversation. And trust me, Vimla, Nabya, Dishara, Sudeshna, we'll all be there. We're ready. We've got our cups of coffee ready, and we are ready to have a cup of coffee with you, because we talk. At Caregiver, Saathi, we talk. And we walk.
The honor and the pleasure is equally ours, Anjali. Thank you. Thank you so much for such a heartwarming, insightful, and a very enriching conversation. Uh, Thank you so much for your time. And, with that, let's wrap it up. And a great
Yes.
evening, all of you.